What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you, Dividend Investing. As always, link down in the description to Robinhood. You get a free stock, I get a free stock. And I'll tell you, the market had turned around a little bit on Friday. You can see after hours, I was up about $50, feeling really good about myself. But I've taken the opportunity to look at the futures market over the weekend, and it just looks bad. And I think it's preparing mentally for a tough Monday. Whether you don't look at your phone or you can expect losses, it's probably going to be a rough day. And my heart goes out to anybody that was planning on retiring or is retiring and is really seeing damage to their portfolio being done that puts them in a difficult position in life. But obviously, what's going on globally is nothing compared to any amount of money. And hopefully we can find a resolution for what's happening right now outside of the U.S. and I guess now inside the U.S. as well as naturally in other countries. However, when you look at investing, there's a couple things that I'm going to watch this week. Obviously, really careful if I'm going to buy. I've obviously moved money over. I want to be prepared to take advantage of these scenarios if they do in fact happen. And I realize taking advantage of something is a really odd situation, but understand, I'm also feeding the economy by buying back into these stocks. For every sell, there is a buy, and, in some case, I want to be the buy for the person that's selling out, based on fear. Southwest Airlines, to me, great example of a company that I'm looking to get into. Obviously, you can see really fallen hard, but here's a company that I have faith in, I have trust in. Obviously, I've used them, and I think they can limit to just U.S. Air, no pun intended, because that's another airline, and be okay. Altria, this company here split with Philip Morris. They're a massive, massive company. If you don't believe me, they wrote off about a $4 billion acquisition in Juul like it was no big deal. They own a stake in Budweiser, so they've really had everything bad happen. And then obviously add in what's going on globally, and you're looking at a stock I never thought was going to go below $42, much less $40. I was at a really good entry point, I thought, at $44.95. But, again, looking at an opportunity here to add more to this at a really, really low price, although it has started to bounce back, you have to be mindful of whether that's going to continue. Another stock I know a lot of people are hit or miss with is Ford. Here's the thing with Ford. This is a stock that just a couple weeks ago was, $9, $10. It's dropped, its fair percentage as well. And is Ford going anywhere? I personally don't think so, and they've got a great yield at this cost, so another thing I'm going to watch. Now, a stock I've talked about a lot on the channel here, Gladstone Capital, you can see they've started to bounce a little bit too, and I never thought they would go below $9. They have, but here's my fear. When you look at Gladstone, they haven't been around long enough for me to see how they're going to deal and grow from the recession. They've been keeping this 9%. And the worry that I have is when I look at Gain, which is their BDC, it hasn't recovered, in my opinion, enough to warrant me wanting to reinvest in these companies. So I love Gladstone. I've talked about David Gladstone, all his companies, but I worry about with their size and in the past history of how they've grown and adapted after the last crash, if they're going to be in a good enough shape to go forward. So I do want to buy in at these prices, and I'm going to buy in at these prices, but I'm also being very, very careful with how much money I allocate for them. I went back and listened to their transcripts over the weekend, and they really did put an emphasis on respecting stockholder investments and understanding where we are in the market and wanting to pay dividends. But to me, when I look at another BDC that I own in terms of Main Street Capital, it's in a better position to grow, I personally think, and recover. You can see it's already starting to recover as well. And as I said, I think based on the futures market, some of these recoveries are going to tend to go away on Monday. I feel like Main Street is in a good position. And all numbers aside, I personally think Main Street has recovered better post the 2008 crash than rather than Gladstone has. So those are some things I'm looking at. Again, being mindful and optimistic about where we're going to go, but also being very cautious because I have an idea based on where we've been, where things are going to continue. So with that said, really appreciate you guys checking this out. Love to know your thoughts on it, and I will be back very shortly with more commentary.